Jiaoqiu is the newest Nihility 5-star character in Honkai style, with a pretty cool design and interesting kit. So without wasting any time, let's jump right into this guide video. So starting off with Jiaoqiu's light cones. Firstly, his best in slot is those many springs. The passive for this light cone is really good for Jiaoqiu. It increases the wearer's effect hit rate by 60%. After the wearer uses basic attack, skill, or ultimate damage to target an enemy, there is a 60% base chance to inflict unarmored on the target. While in the unarmored state, the enemy target receives 10% increased damage lasting for 2 turns. If the target is under a dot state inflicted by the wearer, there is a 60% base chance to upgrade the unarmored state inflicted by the wearer to the cornered state, which additionally increases the damage to the target enemy received by 14% lasting for 2 turns. During this period, the wearer cannot inflict unarmored on the target again. Next up is the Eyes of Prey at S5. Currently, this 4-star light cone is on the current light cone banner. At S5, the passive increases the wearer's effect hit rate by 40% and increases the holder's dot damage by 48%. After all of that, we get to the Incessant Rain, which is Silver Wolf's light cone. For the passive, it increases the wearer's effect hit rate by 24%. When the wearer deals damage to an enemy that currently has 3 or more debuffs, increases the wearer's crit rate by 12%. After the wearer uses their basic attack, skill, or ultimate, there is a 100% base chance to implant Ether Code on a random hit target that does not yet have it. Targets with Ether Code receive 12% increased damage for 1 turn. And then lastly, an event cone before the tutorial mission starts. At S5, this passive increases the wearer's effect hit rate by 40%. When the wearer attacks defense-reduced enemies, the cone then regenerates 8 energy. So, starting off with his trace priority, level his talent, ultimate, then level his skill and basic attack as you want. For his stat bonuses, Jiaoqiu gains 28% effect hit rate and 14.4% fire damage boost, and lastly 5 speed. Now onto his talent, the Quartet Finesse. When Jiaoqiu hits an enemy, there is a 100% base chance to inflict 1 stack of Ashen Roast on them. At 1 stack of Ashen Roast, it increases damage received by the enemy by 15% at level 10. Then each stack increases this by 5%, stacking up to 5 times, and lasts for 2 turns. When the enemy is afflicted by Ashen Roast, they are also considered as being burned, and they take fire dot equal to 145% of Jiaoqiu's attack at the start of each turn. Next, onto his ultimate, Pyrograph Arcanum. This sets the number of Ashen Roast stacks on enemy targets to the highest number of current stacks you have. Then he activates a zone and deals fire damage equal to 100% of his attack to all enemies. While inside the zone, enemies receive 15% increased ultimate damage, with a 60% base chance of being afflicted with 1 stack of Ashen Roast. While the zone exists, this can trigger 6 times, and for each enemy hit, it can trigger only 1 time per turn. This trigger count resets every time Jiaoqiu uses his ultimate. The zone lasts for 3 turns as indicated by the 3 dots on his character HUD, and the duration decreases by 1 at the start of his own turn. If Jiaoqiu dies, then the zone will disappear also. Onto his best relics and ornaments. The Messenger Traversing Hackerspace is his best set to use. His body piece must be effect hit rate and boots should be speed. Try and maximize the amount of effect hit rate and speed through substats also, and if you can get a bit of attack. Then the Prisoner in Deep Confinement is the only other set I recommend using him on. The 2-piece increases his attack, and the 4-piece is for every dot the enemy target is afflicted with, the wearer will ignore 6% of its defense when dealing damage to it. This effect is valid for a max of 3 dots. Sprightly Von Whack is probably his best option because it increases his energy regen by 5%, and when you reach 120 speed or higher, it will also advance his turn forward by 40%. For the Sphere, you want to use fire damage, and for the Rope, you want to use energy regen. Then, Fleet of the Ageless is also a good choice if you need more attack for your team. Broken Keel and Pan-Cosmic Commercial Enterprise can also work if your team requires more crit damage or if you need more effect hit rate on Jiaoqiu. Now, as for substat priority, Jiaoqiu requires 140 effect hit rate. If you can get 180% effect hit rate, it will help against more resistant enemies though. Then for his speed, make sure he has more speed than your main DPS. Now, for Jiaoqiu's teams, Jiaoqiu excels with the Acheron team the best, allowing her to get her ultimate up a lot faster and also buffing her quite a bit. This team consists of Acheron, Jiaoqiu, Pella, and Fu Xuan. Then, the casual dot characters such as Kafka and Black Swan also work really well with Jiaoqiu. And lastly, Dr. Ratio fits in really well with Jiaoqiu because Jiaoqiu will apply the 3 to 5 debuffs that Dr. Ratio requires. Well, thanks for watching. Consider subscribing, leave a like and a comment, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video.